All right, I think I hacked in.
We're on the air?
Shh, security's outside.
But how's my hair?
It's a radio station.
Psst, psst. You guys hear about the Beyond the Shadows podcast with Ryan and Scott?
You guys into paranormal?
What about true crime?
How about UFOs and cryptids?
We also have mad hauntings.
We got security.
No, we don't. We're not big enough to need it yet.
No, we got security.
Hey, what are you guys doing? Get out of here!
Listen to the Beyond the Shadows podcast.
Beyond the
Totally
Shadows.
worth it.
Welcome to the D.E.A.D podcast, where I discuss all things spooky and weird. I'm Desi, and today I'll be talking about Canada's haunted tunnels. Let's get started. Hey everyone, how is everyone doing tonight? I hope y'all are doing good. I am drinking tonight. I got something new for y'all. I'm excited. They kind of go together, my drink and my shirt, so it's kind of funny. As y'all know, I don't know if y'all know, I am from Texas. So the drink I have tonight is called Wild Acre Brewing, and it's a Texas blonde ale, and the can is super cute. It's like a bluish color with like orange pictures. It has like snakes and cowgirls and kisses, and there is a skull with flowers coming out of it. It's just like really cool. Very Texas. Of course, I will post a picture. And then the shirt I am wearing tonight, it has 3 skeletons. They are all wearing pink cowboy hats, and they have pink lassos, and it says, "Let's get rowdy" on it. So I thought it was so cute. So that's what I'm wearing tonight. Let's get started. I am going to be discussing 2 of Canada's haunted tunnels. The first one I'm going to be talking about is called the Screaming Tunnel. Beneath the Canadian National Railroad, on the northern outskirts of Niagara Falls, Ontario, in the very center of the quiet rural strip separating that city from northwesterly St. Catharines, runs a small limestone corridor known as the Screaming Tunnel. This 125-foot-long tunnel was constructed in the early 1900s and is hidden away off Warner Road. Its primary purpose was to drain away water from the farmlands, but farmers used it to transport their animals and goods. It is the perfect setting for one of Canada's eeriest urban legends. Before the Screaming Tunnel was a destination for hikers, tourists, and ghost hunters alike, it served a much more practical purpose. The Screaming Tunnel is constructed from rough-cut limestone bricks as a drainage passage to keep the tracks from flooding. This tunnel allowed water to drain underneath the railway so as to not impede the integrity of the railway as trains traveled between Toronto, Niagara Falls, and New York City. No one knows how exactly the legend originated or what really happened in the tunnel, but there are a few local legends that explain the eerie screams. All local legends agree that the screaming belongs to a young girl living on a farm nearby who was set ablaze in the tunnel. But each story describes a different reason for this atrocity. As the story goes, over a century ago, a family lived in a large farmhouse that stood in the field at the top of the hill, close to the tunnel. One fateful night, the farmhouse caught fire as flames raged through the house. The family was trapped inside the house, and they burned to death. When the fire was eventually put out, the firefighters were looking through the wreckage. They found the charred bodies of all the family members except for the daughter. Searching the surrounding area, they found the burnt corpse of the young girl inside the tunnel at the bottom of the hill. They assumed that she had fled from the house with her clothing engulfed in flames. Running into the tunnel in a desperate attempt to extinguish her burning garments. Overcome by the flames, she must have collapsed and died alone in the depths of the tunnel. However, they could never figure out what had caused the fire in the first place. According to the locals, the little girl was killed by her psychopathic father when he found out that he had lost custody of his children. The girl was forced to flee from the house. Narrowly escaping the fire, the little girl tried desperately to get away. Searching for a place to hide, she ran into the abandoned tunnel, hoping the darkness would conceal her. But there was no hiding from her deranged father, as he followed her into the tunnel. He then doused her with gasoline, lit a wooden matchstick, and burned her alive. Some people say that the fire was started by a local butcher, who became obsessed with the young girl. Wearing a mask, he sneaked up to the farmhouse in the middle of the night and set it on fire. He also attempted to kidnap her, but when she tried to escape through the tunnel, he burned her alive. According to one legend, a local farm that was near the tunnel caught fire. The young girl, with her clothing ablaze, ran towards the tunnel in search of water. However, the girl's burn wounds were too severe and she passed away in the tunnel. Yet another tale tells the story of a young girl that was raped inside the tunnel by a man who was possibly drunk. He set fire to her body so that no evidence would ever be found. Whoever her killer was, everyone agrees that the ghost of the young girl still haunts the tunnel. Ever since, disembodied shrieks of a woman in agony have been heard emanating from the tunnel at night. Legend has it that if you enter the screaming tunnel at midnight and light a wooden match, something will blow your match out, and a blood-chilling scream of a burning girl will echo throughout the passageway. Locals say that it has to be wooden matches, and you can't use a lighter. When you strike the match, you hold it up, and you are supposed to hear a scream immediately, followed by the match burning out. The reason a match would instantly be blown out in the tunnel is that the person who set her on fire used a wooden match to burn her. The middle of the tunnel is unusually cold, and people who visit the tunnel always get the feeling that they're being watched by something or someone. It has become a small area of interest for paranormal investigators. Some have recorded strange sounds echoing through the tunnel, mostly eerie screams. It is believed that it is not just a girl haunting the tunnel alone. People also reported hearing a man's voice inside the tunnel. Some of the investigators also claim to have made physical contact with more than one spirit, leading them to believe that the terrified little girl may not be the only ghost inside. One person who visited the screaming tunnel wrote, "I'm from Niagara Falls, and yeah, the stories are true. My dad was telling me that he and some friends went to the tunnel when they were kids. His friend lit a match and it blew out almost instantly, and he then heard the girl screaming." Another person wrote, "As far as the match story goes, we attempted it 3 times, and the match did blow out all 3 times. But we did not hear any screaming or a man's voice. Instead, when we turned towards the entrance, they saw a transparent, man-like figure approaching. It is believed that the little girl's father is one of the other ghosts inside the tunnel, though he disappeared after the murder. Perhaps he remains there to relive that fateful day." Despite the conflicting stories, the main thread of them, all involving a young girl burned, is enough to keep people coming to see if the legend is true. Okay, so the next one is going to be about the Meriton Tunnel, or also known as the Blue Ghost Tunnel. The Meriton Tunnel, also known as the Grand Trunk Railway Tunnel or the Blue Ghost Tunnel, is an abandoned railway tunnel in Thorold, Ontario. Its eerie moniker was derived from the eerie blue glow that often envelops the tunnel's interior as a result of the ghostly phosphorescent algae that thrives in its damp, dark recesses. The decision to build the tunnel came from the need for a more durable and less interrupted way to cross the new canal, situated directly above it by vehicles. Constructed in 1875, completed in 1876, and opened in 1881, the tunnel is located between locks 18 and 19 of the former Third Wieland Canal and was built using Queenston limestone, spanning a total length of 713 feet, when including the winged stonework at either end. Hundreds of men, armed with picks and shovels, as well as several horses, were used in the excavation of the tunnel. The tunnel was used periodically until 1915, when Harry Eastwood was the last official engineer to pilot a train through the tunnel. Following that, the tunnel was used only occasionally by farmers to transport cattle or as a safe passage from the weather. Several fatal accidents occurred during the construction and use of the tunnel and the railway running through. In 1875, a 14-year-old boy was killed when he was crushed under a large rock. On January 3, 1903, at 7:03 a.m., engine number 4 and engine number 975 met in a head-on collision approximately 22 miles per hour when they crashed. And the firemen of both trains, Charles Horning of engine number 4 and Brom Dassault from engine number 975, died as a result of their injuries. One of the men became mangled in the broiler and died at the scene. When rescuers tried to pull him free, his legs came off. The fireman of the other train fell into the flames and suffered burns on 90% of his body. He died hours later at a nearby hospital. In total, 107 men were killed during the construction of the tunnel and the canal in its surrounding area. As an added bonus for hauntitude, when the canal that runs above the tunnel was built, it flooded a nearby cemetery. Legend has it that in the early 20th century, tragedy struck the tunnel when a group of workers was trapped during a routine maintenance operation. Unable to escape the rapidly rising waters, these unfortunate souls met a grisly end. Their spirits forever bound to the tunnel's eerie depths. A paranormal investigator was trying to find the screaming tunnel, but got lost. He found himself at the much larger Meriton. There he claimed he saw a strange blue mist. The tunnel's reputation soon surpassed its screamier cousin. The TV show Creepy Canada did a feature on it, prompting thousands of visitors a year. It is a popular choice in the list of Canada's most haunted places, and some have called it the most haunted one of all. The ghosts here are said to belong to the two rail engineers that died there. The most enduring and unsettling aspect of the Blue Ghost Tunnel, however, is the story of the ghostly hitchhiker, who is said to frequent the nearby Merritt Road. Locals and visitors alike have reported encounters with a young woman in a flowing white dress, standing along the roadside, thumb outstretched as if in search of a ride. This is where the story takes a chilling twist. Many who have dared to approach the spectral figure have offered her a ride, only to find that she vanishes before their eyes, leaving nothing but a cold, eerie sensation in her wake. These encounters are often accompanied by a sharp drop in temperature, inexplicable fog, and an overwhelming sense of dread. The stories vary, but they all share a common thread. The hitchhiker is said to be a restless spirit seeking to escape the confines of the tunnel, or perhaps to seek justice for the untimely demise of her fellow workers. Her ethereal presence has left countless witnesses in awe and terror, with some even swearing off visits to the tunnel altogether. The Blue Ghost Tunnel's reputation as a paranormal hotspot has attracted numerous ghost hunters, paranormal investigators, and adventure seekers over the years. Some investigators claim to have captured eerie voices and inexplicable footsteps on audio recordings, while others share spine-tingling photographs depicting ghostly apparitions lurking in the shadows. Still, skeptics argue that these findings can often be explained away by natural phenomena or technical glitches. Nevertheless, the allure of the Blue Ghost Tunnel persists. The tunnel became so popular that authorities were forced to brick it up, and the tunnel may be structurally unsafe. So those are the stories of the Screaming Tunnel and the Blue Ghost Tunnel. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know if y'all have heard of either of these or you've been there. I would love to know. That brings me to the end of this episode. Thanks for listening to the D.E.A.D podcast. Please follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at the D.E.A.D podcast. Also, feel free to send in your stories, episode suggestions, or feedback at the deadpodcast1@gmail.com or send me a DM on Instagram. If you enjoyed this show, please rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you are listening on, and be sure to come back next week for my next episode.